In this video, I will be discussing the Seiko SKX007, a cult classic, a Seiko masterclass in keeping a watch in the market for over 20 years. That is what I've bought. It's exciting because I bought a watch that's from the 90s, but it's brand new. And I spent over 300 quid on it. It's just not good value for money, but that's not what this video is about. It's about this watch has its own little secret weapon compared to the other watches out there that are very similar or homages to this one. This has nostalgia, and that nostalgia is what adds, for many watch buyers like yourselves and like me, it's just that little invisible X factor you can't put your finger on. And that's what we're looking at in this video. But also I'll give you the stats and specs of the watch just to help you out if you've not seen one before. So thanks for watching, guys, and roll intro, and I'll see you in a minute. In here we have brand new watch, which was released in 1996. This is still the new watch. This is Japan made. I bought this brand new from Creation Watches, and Seiko quietly discontinued this. There's no big announcement, no goodbye ceremony. Bear in mind this watch was released in 1996, which is quite a while ago. And here it is. This is a made in Japan model. I paid £312 all in, including delivery and fees and everything, for this to come all the way over from, it wasn't actually from Japan. It depends where the stock is for these watches. When you buy through Creation Watches, it's probably from Singapore. There's a number of different places where stock is held. But the interesting thing about this watch, the reason why I wanted to get this in for review is, there's a few reasons. I'm going to do a comparison between this and some of its modern day counterparts, homages to this watch, and just to show how far things have moved on over the last 24 years. And it's a long way, really. So people will say, why have you bought this watch, or why should I even bother buying it? The main reason why I bought this is because it's interesting, it's got history, but also these are going up in value. And the reason why they're going up in value, not because of their objective qualities, because you can get watches which have far better spec than this, but because this is a nostalgic trip for people. This is a way to hark back to 24 years ago when this was a cool watch, and it's been cool ever since. It really has. It's got a lot of respect in the watch world because it's a cult classic. It's really admired by so many people, and I know today it's not got a great spec in comparison. I will run through that, but the reason why these watches are so adored still is because of nostalgia, and I'm going to cover a little bit about that in this video as to how something that objectively can be just average in today's standards, but due to its memories it can trigger or where it can take you back to, it's an element of time travel by wearing a timepiece, which is what I like about these. People like vintage watches. They can sometimes be fragile, unreliable, pain in the backside, to be honest, and there's something magic about those kind of watches, and that's what I'm going to see if I can uncover with this. Is there any magic to this watch? Now, anyone who's not familiar with this watch, I'm going to run through, just to help you out, the stats and specs. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I've got it here to my left, is I'm going to weigh it. So you get an idea of how much does this watch weigh on its rubber dive strap. So it's only 108 grams, so it's a light watch. Now we're going to move on to its sizings. Case size on this model, it's a just shy, it's a 42mm case size. Then we've got the lug to lug is, I know it's pretty compact on these, it's about 46. I've got the straps in the way there. And the lug width, I'm only doing this because I like using this tool, 22mm. So size wise, oh, I've got the thickness. It's only 13mm thick. It's a really nice size of watch, really. So now I'm going to pop it on my 7-inch wrist so you get an idea of how it sits on my average man-size wrist. It sits really well, as you'd expect, really. It's light, it's comfortable. But I do notice straight, I'm not going to fiddle with this too much because I'm going to be selling this on. I'm keeping it for a bit of an investment, really, because these are going up in value. They really are. Because like I said, they discontinued them a year ago or thereabouts, and they don't make them anymore. And I got this as a new stock from end of line effectively, and it's made in Japan when they did make some models in different parts of the world as well. So this adds a little bit of extra value and kudos, if you will. So yeah, it's a comfortable watch, and the spec of it is what you'd expect from a watch of its time, really. But the things that it seemed to excel at for its day was people really loved Lumbright, which is the Seiko's proprietary loom, which you get in here. And I'll show you a little loom shot right now. As you can see, even here with just the studio light turned off, it glows already. It's not been charged up much. It's been in the box the whole time, and I've only had it under light for just these first few minutes of doing this review. So you can see how quickly it charges. And I mean, these, even today, are good for their loom. But things that affect this in modern day standards for specification, I'm going to run through now. And that is, firstly, the standard movement in here is the 7S26 is the code name for the movement. And the good thing about the movement is it is an automatic. It does have a 40-hour-ish standby, it's not standby, power reserve. It has a day and date complication. But where it falls flat compared to the NH35s you get in nearly everything nowadays is, I'll show you. The first thing you're going to want to have on a watch that's automatic is once you've unscrewed the crown, there's zero hand winding. So if it runs flat, you've got to do the Seiko shuffle, which is you've got to shake it like this for about 30 seconds, which is just not really practical. If you're not going to wear this watch every day, let's say wear this Monday to Friday, and then after the weekend, it will be flat because the power reserve isn't long enough for it to last all weekend. So that's one little thing that's made it get outdated. And then it doesn't have hacking. So when you pull the crown all the way out to do the time adjustment, normally on modern day watches, they're a lot cheaper than this one, the seconds hand stop, so you can set your watch exactly to the time you want it to. So that's the other little bugbear. But this is still a genuine 200-meter dive watch. Screw the crown back in, there we are. And the only other little thing is these crown guards are a little bit fiddly and they can be a bit sharp here. It's just a bit awkward, but it's not terrible. But it's a bit, there's not a huge amount of grip on this crown, but it's functional. Then again, I'm not peeling this sticker off, but you do get some nice detailing underneath, and it is a 200-meter dive watch. This strap though is pretty bad though. It's quite stiff and unforgiving, but again, it's going to be practical for diving. But modern rubber straps you get now just feel so much more supple. But this is durable. I'm sure it's just going to be tough as nails. But a lot of people do change these straps out, and a lot of things. And that leads me into other things that I think have been outdated, of course. And that is the fact that the bezel insert is aluminium on this. A lot of watches now have ceramic in there now. It used to be deemed a real luxury to have ceramic, but it shows how cost effective it can be made. And the aftermarket scene for these is huge. Ceramic is better because it just has a nicer finish and it doesn't scratch. Whereas aluminium finishing on here, that can scratch easily. It can make it look tatty quicker. The fact that this glass as well as Hardlex, it's not going to be as scratch resistant as sapphire. It still has its own excellent properties. Hardlex is overrated, but it does have its own properties. It's Seiko's Hardlex is the proprietary. They own that. It's their own invention, if you will, their own mineral crystal. But the downside is, if you want your watch to look fresher for longer, this Hardlex, as crisp as it looks now, with that lovely bevel edge on the edge of it there, it does scratch and it can start to look scruffy quite quickly. And this is a tall watch, and it's nice to have a tall watch, one you're going to wear and use and abuse, if you will. It's nice to have it still looking half decent for a while. And then you do have a lot of polishing on here as well, which I think negates away from the toolish look as well. It adds a bit of class, but tall watches nowadays seem to have a lot more of a brushed finish, and that's for good reason, because it's easier to rectify any marks and scuffs in brushing, and it stops the watch looking too bling and being too much of a smudge magnet. Then bezel feel has come a long way as well with these modern interpretations you get from China, because they seem to focus a lot on the engineering feel of the bezel insert, the bezel rotation, how it feels. This is 120 click, but it just feels a bit muted. It's almost like it's got a muffler. If the best way to describe it, instead of it feeling like each click pops or is snappy, it feels like it's muffled and soft. It doesn't have a nice mechanical engineered feel like you would imagine, or if you have felt on other bezels. There's not much, there's a little bit, so you can see there is play in it, and it's quite stiff. I know it'll loosen up over time, but it just shows how well the engineering of these things has moved on. So I've covered the loom, I've covered the movement, I've covered the materials it's made with. You know, they've got Hardlex, aluminium bezel insert, polished stainless steel, fairly stiff rubber. It is a 200-meter ISO rated dive watch. But the main thing I wanted to do is bring this into the mix, because I've got future content with this watch, is to do a comparison with other modern day homages to this watch, just to show how things have moved on. But there's something special this watch will always have, and that is history. That is memories for people. That is nostalgia. That's the beauty of nostalgia. Nostalgia adds value to everything, regardless of how good or bad or crummy it is. No one can argue that this watch doesn't have some kind of intrinsic nostalgic value, because from in its day it was a very good watch, and even today it's a very good watch. But value for money wise, it's terrible. Specification wise, it's merely average, but it's got that X factor, guys. I think it's got that X factor. You need to hold one and feel it and just look at it, and it's extremely well finished. Everything lines up. It's not the usual Seiko poor alignment issues or anything there. I mean, for its day, this is a great watch, and it's nice to still, if you can get one, it's worth having in your collection, because they are going up in value. For all those people out there that are like me, I used to collect and trade vintage toys and things like that, because I know even though some toys in the past used to be poorly made or cheap plastic and fall to bits, people buy it for memories. You buy a product often, not just for its objective qualities, but for how it makes you feel, what it makes you remember. Or is it a time warp? Is it just going to make you jump back to 1996 or so on, and years around then where you have good memories, or, you know, better times, who knows? And that's the beauty of these kind of watches. So I'd say treasure these, still have them in your life, still respect them, but also appreciate how well things have moved on over the years. And I hope this initial inspection of the SKX007 has been of use to you guys. And I'd like to hear your thoughts and your opinions on how this could be special to you. And I also like to hear why you could possibly think it's total junk. And I'm talking total rubbish, which sometimes I do. But that's the beauty of being on YouTube, is I can just talk rubbish, and I enjoy hearing your comments. So thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope it's been insightful or interesting, or triggered thoughts or memories, and made you think maybe what other kind of watches that you remember from 20 to 30 years ago, if they could still make them today, what would it be? Let me know. I'd love to know. I'd like to know if they still make anything as well. Do some more research that they made 25 years ago that you can still buy today, unchanged. Let me know, guys, in the comments. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.